Starting lineup, uniforms, and apparel present the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. Hello once again, everybody. Andrew Rogers with you, the host of the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League podcast. It's great to be back with you guys once again. It's a hot one out there, so hopefully everyone's staying cool. I want to thank Mitch Scott of Starting Lineup, Uniform, and Apparel. If you haven't followed him already on the social media, get over to it. He's putting out some great stuff. He's all over Facebook, Instagram, and like I say, he keeps putting out these amazing products, and it's really just a blast having him on board and having him along with me with this whole venture thing. But yes, we're on to episode number 16 now in the podcast. This past podcast, we had on Brad Crisco of the Milverton Four-Wheel Drives. That was a real blast having him on, and it was great talking hockey. It was great talking with him about the Red Wings. It was just great talking to him in general, getting his opinion on things. That was really quite the treat. We move on to today's episode. Like I said, episode number 16 in the podcast, and we got a real treat for you. A couple of I guess if you could call them characters, but they're great guys, and they're great representatives of this league that we love, the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League, and they are from the Lucknow Lancers, and we're going to introduce them now. We're going to get right to this podcast because I'm really excited to have these guys on and get the show underway. So, like I say, I'd like to welcome in our guests at this time. From the Lucknow Lancers, number 67, Tyler Ryan, and number 13 or 22, Matt Crane. All right, it's at this time that we welcome in our guest on this today's episode of the podcast, number 16. They are from the Lucknow Lancers, and, well, really all around because they played in a lot of places. Number 67, Tyler Ryan, and number 13 or 22, Matt Crane of the Lucknow Lancers. Guys, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
First question I want to ask, I ask everybody this, and obviously with COVID coming, and then it's kind of, things are reopening here, but it's still in effect in a lot of places. How are you guys doing? How has it affected you guys? How are you guys been keeping through all of this?
Take it away, Crane.
You want me to go first? All right. So basically for me, I've just been trying to stay healthy and, keep training and, trying to practice social distancing and did a little bit of self-isolating. But unfortunately, where I was working, I was laid off at the start of March. So just trying to make my way and, stay healthy and, stay optimistic and positive.
Right on. Tyler?
Well, with me, I've been laid off the labor's union since January, doing a couple odd jobs here and there whenever I get a chance. I got kids at home and stuff, so my wife's PSW, so she's now picked up a second job. And with me working a little bit out and around, we have her friend from Markham down here watching the kids, so we're able to do that.
That's good.
Yeah, so we get a little bit of help here and there when we need it for the kids and stuff. So, but basically, you can tell by the tan on me. I'm outside every day. So
you are very tan.
Now, so Tyler, have you been able to do any sort of practice, or you been able to keep in shape at all, or you been able to get skating, or what?
I got the fire hall across the street from me with pretty paved parking lot, so I get out and skates over there sometimes. But other than that, I got kids, so go out for bike rides. I got two young kids that can't quite ride a bike yet, so throw them in the little bike trailer and I pull them in behind me and stuff, and it helps. Keeps me in shape, keeps my legs going.
Good. Hey, Matt, I know you've been keeping busy, buddy.
I've been trying to. I've been practicing outside, doing a lot of inline, a lot of stick handling sessions. I was on the ice actually just this past Tuesday and Friday with Mr. Crisco, who was on your podcast just the other day. So we were putting him through the motions. He didn't like skating though, that's for sure. He didn't want to do any of the skating. He's like, no more cardio. He just didn't want to do it. So trying to put into that off season. We're not sure when the league is going to be starting up. If it is, hopefully it will be starting up again soon. But most part, just trying to do a lot of inline and a lot of running, and need to work on my nutrition though. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Eating too many pizzas and too many Big Macs. Gotta ease back on that, I think. So.
Yeah, in terms of off season, there really is no good diet that comes into an off season anywhere.
Not really, no. Like, I mean, last off season was a lot better for me. Like, I had a lot more set up. I had power skating with Bridget Wolf out of Waterloo. It was my first time with her, and she did a phenomenal job. A lot of players that she had with her were a lot of minor midget AAA kids, and I mean, it was a good skate. And then not only that, I was also on the ice with Jordan Hatzinger with Patsy Hockey Development out of Cambridge, and a lot of great guys there, guys that played in the league like Chad Heron, and a lot of guys that play in the ECHL, AHL, and it was a really good skate. So not being on the ice right now or training is really detrimental. So just trying to do what I can to be ready to go for next season.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it, you know.
Tyler, this past season you went from Clinton to Lucknow. You spent time in both. When you look back at the year as a whole, what do you take away from it?
Well, to get that start with Clinton was really eye-opening to me. I mean, the guys there were phenomenal. The whole organization is just unbelievable. They're on you for everything, the broken stick, equipment, anything. Like, they're right there, ready to rock. But like, having a season, the season I had with them was great. And then come the deadline there, they signed a third goalie, kind of pushed me off the roster, which, I mean, hey, it happens. So I'd reached out to Lucknow and went there and started off with a bang with them. I got 4 points in 3 games, and then even the playoffs there, it was great. I had a blast on both teams. I got some buddies that were in the Lucknow roster. That's Matt himself and a couple other guys, the McIntyre twins and Jordan Pepper. But really, there wasn't much of a takeaway for me. Like, it was by far one of my best years, stats wise.
Until you got suspended though, right?
Yeah, I got suspended a couple times there at the end of the year, but stats wise, it was by far my best year. So it felt like home being in Lucknow. Really, having it, like, you get Clinton. They've been the champions the last 4 years in a row and could have possibly made it 5. But to be able to play with the guys that I had even in Lucknow, it was phenomenal. It was great.
Matt, what about you? How was what do you take away from last season?
Last season for me was a bit of a struggle early on. So I mean, I started the season expecting to play on one team, and then I ended up going out with another team, and then ended up going from there, and then being in limbo and not knowing if I was going to be playing at all or where I was going to be playing. And I mean, I lucked out and was given an opportunity to play for Seaforth, which was a very amazing experience. I had lots of fun playing there for the 4 games that I played. But unfortunately, you know, the thing with senior, and not a lot of people are aware with the rules, that each team at the start of the season is allowed 35 cards. And as the season progresses, come January 10th, they have to knock that 35 cards down to 25. And that's the roster that each team has moving forward after January 10th. And that includes the playoffs. So I've found myself the last few years just kind of being on that bubble, or being that bubble player where I'm there, but I'm not there. And a lot of times I've been getting kicked. But for the most part, I mean, when I was on Seaforth, great organization. Kevin was an amazing GM. Reevesy, amazing coach. And being able to play with Holden Lancic. Funny story with Holden is I met Holden at a tournament in Oshawa 3 years prior, because his fiance's brother knows a good buddy of mine who lives in Oshawa. So me and Holden were already kind of friends prior to me even playing with him. And then, yeah, after my 4 games with Seaforth, I ended up unfortunately getting the axe there. They kind of told me that, I mean, unfortunately they didn't have a spot for me, and I still wanted to play. So I had my buddies that played on Lucknow, Cole Pellet, Reed Schwartzensruber, who you also had on the podcast, and Colin Bokout, and went out for a skate with Lucknow and spoke with Chris, the GM there, amazing guy. And they said, yeah, no, we definitely need players. We need guys that are committed, that are willing to show up. And they more or less gave me the nod, and I went out and then wore the Lucknow uniform.
Talk about a drive.
Yeah, it was all over the place. And even past season.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, past season, the photo you had that I sent you with me and Tyler side by side in Petrolia last season was a bit of a struggle for me too. So, I mean, I started.
I got Petrolia.
Yeah, you helped me. Ty helped me get on Petrolia, and even then, I ended up getting cut because the rules last year were different. So last year, the rules for Woaa was that each team was allowed as many local players as they were allowed to within a certain region,
Right.
but I only allowed 5 import players.
Oh, okay.
So me being on the bubble again, I was an import player for Petrolia, and I ended up getting the axe there too. But I mean, I was driving over 2 hours for practices and games and just looking to play. So I mean, that's how I played with Ty. So
The one funny thing that I will say about this year, though, that comes to mind for me now is, as Trainer was saying, he got the axe from Seaforth.
Yeah.
And I was going with Clinton to play in Lucknow, and get a phone call from Matt himself, giving me the news that he's now playing for Lucknow. So, I told him I'd meet him at center ice, and the joke between the two of us was basically that, hey man, don't do that to me. It's my first game.
Yeah, I always know you were at that game. Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah.
It was fun to play against you, but I think definitely with our chemistry and our history, it's more fun to play on the same team with you.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot when we play together. So.
Let me ask you guys, like, about that time that you guys spent in Petrolia. Can you recall, like, a certain fond memory that you guys have from a game that you played in together?
Well, we spent a lot of time together on the bench here and there, but
more so me.
It's
more so me than you, but I remember practices. So I remember the first practice I went out, and one thing I can give to Ty that I really find very good about him is that he's very persistent. So every time we had practice, even though I was driving 2 hours, Ty was always the first guy on the ice, and he's usually the last guy off. So like I would be in the room changing, and I would be tying up my skates, and I'd look up and I'd say, "Guys, where's Ty?" And Ty's already out there ripping slap shots, just already setting up for the practice. So he was always willing to go and give 100% when he played in Petrolia. That's for sure.
Right on.
Well, when I play for anybody, really, I give my 110.
Yeah, I mean, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, things get heated, so you get yourself on the suspension side of things once in a while, but
discipline was far in between with you.
Ty, do you feel like your reputation isn't of the greatest, or like, are you being misled in this league?
Yes and no. Like, I started into it when I was, I think, 21 years old. My first year in the league was the last year Goderich was in the league before they actually went to Seaforth.
Right.
I played for Goderich that year. But I just I bounced around moving and stuff, and I ended up playing for a few different teams. So I've played for, like I said, Goderich and Shelburne for a little bit there. And the year I played for Shelburne, I got hurt pretty good. So it was early in the season. It cut my season short. But even in more recent years, like I've played with Melvie, and I played in Elora, Petrolia, and now Shallow and Clinton.
So you're a journeyman.
Yeah,
I think Ty and I have a joke about that. I think you played. What was it? You've been on as many teams in your career in senior than I have in like the past 3 years.
Yeah,
I think I've been on like 8 teams,
6
like
or 7
like
teams in 7 years, and
so many. It's like
7,
Hilly, Milverton, Tavistock, Elora, Shallow, or Seaforth. The list goes on. Too many teams.
Yeah, but no, I mean, there's years like this year specifically. Like I said, my stats, they showed. Specifically with Lucknow, I got a lot more ice time with Lucknow than I have with really any other team, and it did show. I was in the right place at the right time as a defenseman or a forward. I played both with Lucknow this year.
Right.
But I actually, with them, I got things started as a defenseman. I got an assist in my first game. And then we went into Saugeen Shores for my second game. And I got thrown up. Actually, Matt got bumped off for a power play opportunity. They threw me out forward for a power play opportunity. I scored on it.
Nice.
And then I ended up I got a goal and assist against you guys in our overtime loss.
Right.
But I mean, having that extra little bit of ice time and stuff, it will help. It keeps your legs out underneath you and keeps them moving. And it shows. Like when you're not as frequently on the ice, you're not going to get as much running underneath you, right? So
Now, Ty, like, I mean, you know, you're not exactly, you know, like a massive guy out there. I mean, do you find, like, and you've played in this league for a while now. So
yeah.
how has the adjustment been for you being a smaller guy? Like back in the day, it might have been, you know, terrifying playing out there against larger guys. But nowadays, I think the league has kind of changed where it's more adept to, you know, guys of your stature. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the biggest guy in the league that I've had to really come across and encounter was Theo Peckham. I mean,
Yeah.
the first time I played against him, I was playing for Allura, and we got in a little scrum, and I'd kind of tied up with Theo, and he put me in a headlock, and I mean, I'm not that big of a guy to handle.
Was it you that told me, Ty, the story about when Theo was like, I think it was, were you on Allura when he was, this guy was skating up the middle of the ice?
It was Justin Byers.
Yeah, it was Byers, Justin Byers for Allura. And
Byers
Theo,
looked for a suicide pass, and Theo stepped into him and hit Byers' helmet hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
So it was a big hit. Like, and he didn't skate across the ice into him or nothing. He took 1 or 2 steps from where he was on the ice, and just, he's a big guy. And even Justin Byers, like, he's not that big of a guy.
Right.
But I mean, for being my size, I'm like 5'8", 5'9", and 150 pounds. I'm not a big guy by any means, but I've got the feet underneath me. I got the speed. I can hit, and I like to hit. And I mean, some guys in the league, I understand. Obviously, we all understand and know we have to work the next day or the next couple days, whatever.
Right.
But it is still a full contact hockey, right? Like, it's still contact. So
Matt, let me ask you, like, because I was talking to you about this earlier when we spoke about just like there has to be a little bit of hesitation amongst you guys when you're playing the game that's this fast, that there is going to be some sort of a fear of getting hurt. There has to be that realistic fear that, you know, you got to be careful when you're out there because, yeah, you do have families to go home to and you do have work to go to on Monday.
Yeah, I think that with the league being full contact, and personally myself, I never grew up playing contact. So first coming into the league and trying to get a feel for that, I think there's in the back of your head that there's still that little part of you that's always kind of worried, like if the puck goes into the corner, like, am I going to get smoked, or is there going to be a guy who's going to come bearing down on me and, you know, knock me down? And personally for myself, like every single year, I think that I've been fortunate enough to play, I've taken head contact hits. I think even in Saugeen Shores, I think I was pulling the puck in front of the net and guy elbowed me straight to the head, and it was a hit to the head. And I mean, I didn't need the trainer or anything like that, and I got right back up. But I mean, there are guys like, you know, Brad Crisco and I know Zach Lorenz with Avstock, who I'm buddies with, who blew his knee out. I mean, it is a factor that happens playing in senior, and there isn't any really insurance or anything like that. Or if you get hurt, like, is your contract still going to be there? Like it would be in the show, right? This is definitely something that we do in our own time after we're not working or things like that. So, I mean, the risk of injury is always there. And I think as players, we try to limit, you know, the opportunity to get hurt. So some guys try to stay in shape and other guys, you know, try to be a little bit more cautious, but the threat of injury is definitely real, and it does happen from time to time. You take that risk.
And you look at this year. I mean, well, me playing with Petrolia last year, I got hit playing against Seaforth, the 3rd game of the season or something like that, and I had separated my shoulder. Fortunately for me, it wasn't too bad. Like, I continued working and stuff for the week. Was back in the lineup the following week and continued playing as if it wasn't bothering me at all. It took me about 3 or 4 weeks to get it fully mobile and stuff to where I could actually really move my arm fluently. But then this past summer, Matt and I were both playing over in the States, and I got into it with somebody, kind of challenged me and whatnot, and I broke my hand. Well, coming home to wife and kids, having to explain to the wife that I broke my hand playing in the States wasn't fun. Because then I was off work for just over a month. And I mean, she wasn't working at the time. She was in school, and I was the only source of the income. So it put a hurt on us for sure. But it's a chance that you take for any hockey league that you play in, really. whether it's contact or not.
Sure.
You play men's league, and your mindset's different. You're playing men's league. It's no contact, where then you'll play some random dummy on the ice that he just runs you over or something. You're not expecting it. Where contact hockey, playing in Woaa, you're expecting to get hit. It doesn't matter if it's a high contact game or not. You know, the teams that are more physical and the teams that are more like fluent with the puck and stuff, where there's not going to be as many hits. Right. So you kind of have to have your mindset to who you're playing and where you're at.
Sure, I get what that's great. I mean, I get what you mean when you say that. I talked to Reed Schwarzenegger about this, just about the Lucknow playoff run on the A side. You know, he was unfortunately unable to take part due to injury, but you guys were right there at the forefront. Take me through what that whole playoff experience was like for you guys.
Well, Matt didn't have much for the Petrolia series here, but
no, I did not.
I mean, coming into game one for us, at least for me, like I live 10 minutes from the arena in Petrolia, and as crazy as that sounds, it's driving to Lucknow and even Clinton. I mean, it is what it is. It's right. Something I enjoy to do is play for the teams that have all my buddies and stuff and better friendships. Not saying I don't have that with Petrolia, but coming into that series, I had my friends and family there. And after game one, just the rush from all the people and the shock that we left in the Petrolia arena after beating them in regulation was phenomenal. Even for our own players, it felt like the guys were shocked that we came out with the win the first night, because they had the majority of their roster, and it was a really good battle back and forth. But luckily for us, I mean, Petrolia, we all know that Petrolia had a rough time getting guys out to away games, so right. We ran away with game two, and Tavistock, the first three games were overtime games. I mean, a linesman missed an offside in the overtime of game one, which, hey, it happens. We're all human. It led to the game-winning goal. But regardless, the first three games were overtime, and we put it into them just as much as they put it into us. Game four, they just, fortunately for them, they came out with the win in regulation. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I say, for me all season long, I just kept telling anybody that I talked to that you guys were much better than the record indicated throughout the season. If you guys had to reach out to people about coming in and playing for Lucknow, what would you say to them? What would your pitch to them be for wanting to, for bringing them in to play for the Lucknow Lancers?
Well, I've actually got 5 or 6 guys that are interested in coming this year. From all over, really. I've got guys from Sarnia. I've got guys from Niagara Falls that are even London. They're all coming from like junior A, junior B, the tier 2 junior A level. And basically, I just told them, like, hey, I know it's a chance you take to play senior and stuff, and it's fun to get out. Basically, you want to play with a good team, guys that are out to enjoy themselves. Sure, our record, like you're saying, our record doesn't do us any favors, really. But it's about the team and the way that they all gel together, really.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, so, I mean, I definitely think for Lucknow, I mean, inviting players out, I know a few guys that I've also spoken to that played for Elora last year or the year before that are itching to play again and that want to play also. And I mean, biggest thing that I've been trying to convince them to is just, that we needed committed guys. In any team that I've been on, I mean, it's been an issue where we were always either being way too short or guys just wouldn't show up, or guys would show up when it was convenient. And a lot of times that would hurt us when we would go out to games with, 12, 13 guys, when we would prefer to have a full bench or close to that, right? So,
or 7.
Yeah, or 7 players, or in Petrolia's case, when they played us game 2 with 8 or 9 guys, right? So, I mean,
even Matt and I played for Clinton or for Petrolia last year, we went to, what was it, Clinton with 7, 8 guys.
Yeah, we didn't have that many. It was 10, if that. I mean, it's just having the commitment from players and the teams acknowledging players that are willing to show up, that are willing to be there, that are willing to put in the work and giving those players opportunities versus, players that are buddies on the team or guys that have been there for years, right? So, I mean, biggest thing that I would preach and what I've tried to tell my buddies that are interested in playing is, I mean, if you're going to sign on, make sure you're able to be there, right? Because I mean, we're trying to help promote the league, which is why we're pushing for this podcast and pushing for an opportunity to help promote the league and build it up, right? Because I mean, as much as we're normal guys and normal players, I mean, we're also trying to help the communities that we're playing out of too, right? We don't want to go to places and not have fans, right? I mean, we want to play and help build this league. So.
Well, there was one thing that Cole Pellet had said in his podcast with you. Is Lucknow specifically, like he had said in his podcast, is that there's a lot of local guys in the team, and then having committed guys that are out of town like Matt, myself, and even some of the other guys from the Kitchener area that are driving the distances we're driving just to play, to have us show up. Like Clinton doesn't have practices. Right. They haven't for like 4 years, and they've won the last 4 years, whatever. And I went basically all year without a practice. Wow. So when I went over to Lucknow, I had explained to him, like, I referee hockey as well. So on top of working, I was refereeing, and I didn't have a lot of time to be running down to Lucknow every week for practices during the week, which Chris was understanding of that. I did explain that anytime that I'm able to, I'll make her down. So I ended up coming down February. I made her down there through a snowstorm and everything for practice.
Yeah,
and
you showed up for one practice.
We had I think 9 or 10 guys made it through the snowstorm. And I mean, I enjoyed myself. Like, the guys, they're there for the fun of it. They're there to work on the little bits of things that we can as a team, even for 10 guys. Like, it's helpful to have even just 10 guys. But other than what Cole was saying, there is the guys that are out of town coming in shows the community that team's trying to produce to be better and more competitive. Absolutely. They're bringing guys in that are higher levels and able to push the team into maybe even a AA standing.
Absolutely. We got about 1:45 here. I just wanted to ask you guys really quick before we end things here. Like, who do you guys owe your hockey success to?
How about it?
I'll take a quick bite at this for 30 seconds. For me, like, I unfortunately didn't end up playing hockey growing up. Like, I started at a later age. So I mean, everyone that I've spent time with or had an opportunity to work with that was willing to spend the time to help me better my game, like Tyler, when I met Tyler in the 3HL. I mean, he's been in my corner ever since. And I mean, I would say a big portion of who I am and the kind of player I am today would be devoted to Tyler, which is why I'm happy that I'm on here with him. But it's all the people that have helped me get to where I'm at. So everybody from power skating, like a good buddy of mine, Mike Nickel, he's a good buddy of mine who's helped me get to where I am. And even guys on our team, every team that I've been on, the guys that take the time to help me get better are the guys that I'm thankful for to where I'm at.
Right on. What about you, Tyler?
Carol McPherson, she's like the power skating guru down here. I had her as a kid. She's still doing her power skating stuff here. And it's phenomenal to see the turnarounds from some of the kids that could hardly skate to where they end up. Like, a lot of these kids end up playing junior B, junior A. And it just blows my mind the way she can just, like, it's like she's a hockey whisperer. Like, it's ridiculous.
That's awesome, man. Well, since we bought ourselves another 35 minutes, guys, we could talk about some more stuff here. Do you guys? I want you guys to share with me like a particularly fond memory of your childhood hockey days, like something that sticks out particularly, maybe funny or not, but just something that sticks out above the rest in terms of a fond hockey memory.
Tyler, you want to go first? Because I'll think about one, because I didn't start playing until I was 18. So.
Sure. Well, I've been playing since I was like 3 years old, so I got tons of memories. But one of the funniest ones that I can think of that were somewhat kind of recent, I was playing midget rep in Moortown. We went to a tournament towards Toronto way, and growing up, I was a centerman or a winger, just depended on who was playing with me and stuff. And I kind of got into it with this one guy, and he's a little bit bigger than me. I caught him with his head down, made the clean hit, and we got tied up a little bit afterwards, and I sticked him where it counts. And he jumped me from behind, and when he did, my defenseman, being like 6'3", roughly, his name was Zach Wood, he picked the kid up with one hand. They're roughly the same size. He picked him up with one hand, cocked his arm, and this kid was ready to hit him. He just was like, forget it.
No.
Oh man, that's funny.
Oh, it was great.
Matt, do you got something?
My turn now, eh? All right. I would say for me, a fond memory when I started playing would be when I started playing hockey. So when I first started, I was 18, and I played like ball hockey and stuff growing up a little bit, but I knew that I definitely wanted to play ice hockey. And financially, I wasn't able to do it growing up. It wasn't in the cards for my parents at the time. So, I mean, when I was financially able to start paying for pickup hockey and stuff like that, I knew I wanted to get into it, but I didn't have any gear. So I ended up borrowing, when I first started out, my dad's old hockey gear. And I mean, this stuff was old. I mean, we're talking like the Cooper white bucket that said Cooper on the front with like a white cage, and like the big old red pair of, oh buddy, yeah, Ty knows, a big old red pair of hockey pants with suspenders. And I mean, everything was too big for me. It was lanky. I was going out at late night shinny in Oshawa at Camlin Ice Sports with guys that played in the OJHL, so the Whippy Fury, the Coburg Cougars. So I mean, I just looked like a sore thumb out there. And funny enough, I think it was like the first week I was trying to skate, I had no sense of how to stop. So I went out and I just full on went hardcore as fast as I possibly could for a race to the puck. And I just ate it into the boards. And I mean, everything went flying. I had gloves went flying. Ty can visualize me doing this. Gloves went flying, helmet flew off. I mean, stick went into the netting, and it was hanging in the netting. And everyone just froze. Everyone was just like, couldn't believe what just happened. And guys come up to me, they're like, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And I'm just holding my side as I'm trying to grab my stuff because I was just out of breath, knocked my wind out, and skated over and just, I was just done at that point. So, I mean, playing with old gear, and I didn't even have my own skates at the time too. I was using my dad's old, like Super Tax, you know, the old CCM.
I remember.
The Iserman. Yeah, you guys know. Yeah, the old white Super Tax skates that were like 2 sizes too big for me. And I was starting to play hockey was definitely an interesting experience. But that was, I think, 9 years ago now, and I think I've come quite a long way from where I was in the span of that time frame. To go to toe and be able to play on the ice with guys like Tyler and other guys in the league is really humbling, and you know, I hope to continue to do that. So.
Another more recent one that I got here is we were just kind of talking about it before we got recording again. Mitch Scott will like this one.
Oh yeah.
Back into our 3HL here. Mitch in starting lineup, you know. But Craner and I, we went down to Oshawa. We were playing against the Toronto Bees in 3HL. Justin Fox was the guy that had this whole thing going on. It was a 3-on-3 tournament style layout. I won the opening draw. Clean right back to Matt. He missed it. Kind of fumble stick handled it. He got a brand new stick. He hadn't cut it or nothing. It was full length. It was just, looking back in the video, it's priceless to watch him stick handle it or try to, and he fumbles it right in the corner. He goes and plays it, gets destroyed by one of the other boys on the Bees there, and he managed to get me the puck. And as I turned to pass it over to Mitch Cook, I got smoked. And it's just the quickness of this league for being full OHL size ranks 3-on-3. It was fast hockey. But there was a penalty called on the play, and the way penalties worked was you had your shooter with the other 5 guys in the ice behind you at the blue line, and once the referee blew the whistle, they had free game to stop you from scoring. It was fun. So as Matt had stated there, he threw the little poke at me when we were talking about it. I was nicknamed the breakaway specialist. If I had that free space to skate, 9 out of 10 times I was going to score. So
on almost every penalty shot, you put the puck.
I did score on every single penalty shot.
Yeah, you were good on that. That's for sure.
Well, actually, no, sorry. 2 penalty shots I missed, and they were both in the same event. They were in Saugeen Shores. The first one was against the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks, Jeff Flagler in net. He completely threw me off guard. He stepped out at me, and none of the goalies had done that. And it just I shot it off the side of the net.
We got him coming on the podcast on Friday.
Yeah.
Flag
one was Rich Wigmore. I had him beat, and then he just laid down on the ice and he did a little barrel roll on the ice, and same thing. It threw me off. I had no idea what to do. I froze. I shot it, and I flubbed it and whatever. And I was laughing after with him about it. But no, Matt and I, since meeting Matt probably, I don't know, 4 years ago, we've come to be pretty close, and our memories of hockey and stuff together. Like we were playing, I lived in Hamilton for a while there. I'd have Matt and another buddy of ours, Spencer Aspen. We'd the three of us would meet up and play a shinny from 10 o'clock at night till 1 a.m. in Hamilton, and it was like a good skate. But we have a blast. Like it's always fun with the boys. So
cool, man. No, I'm sorry. Sometimes I just get lost in the stories, because I think that's something that's so unique about this podcast, is being able to come on, share your stories, and just get everybody to get a new perspective on the guys in this league because of how great everybody is. I mean, it's just so humbling to hear, like, really, at the end of the day.
Well, and even then, like, you get guys from the other teams that you don't really, like, you can't hang out with them because, like, say, Spencer McCormick for an example there, like, he's a really great guy. He's a good buddy of mine and Matt's, and it's not like I can just go hang out with him and stuff, but we stay in touch. We play against each other, and when we see each other on the ice, you know, we get talking and laughing a little bit, warm ups, and game time comes a little bit more serious. We'll make a couple pokes here and there at each other through the games. Like all the guys, you eventually get to know who's who, and
right.
Some of the guys, you can throw them off their game, just poking at them a little bit, and sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it throws it into a more physical manner. But
touching base on that story, like Ty and I both know Peck's pretty good. Theo Peckham, the ice cream man now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the cheeseburger man.
Cheeseburger, and he's doing ice cream too. He's quite a beauty.
Yeah, but according to Cole, he puts away the cheeseburgers pretty good.
Oh, he's a big boy. I think the funny thing, the first time I met Theo Peckham, man, we were in Markham, and he comes out of the room, and I recognized his face just from online, from just being, oh, this guy played for the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, he's a pro hockey player. First thing he says to me as I'm in the hallway, he's like, where do we get the ice to put the ice in the sink for the beers, boys? And I'm just like, what?
He's walking around the arena with a cooler in his hand.
Yeah, he had two
looking for ice.
Yeah, just guys full on into like just drinking the beers now and having fun with the boys. Just completely went the other way. And even another story between Tyler and me this season when we played him in Saugeen, is like Tyler was already talking to him in warmups, just like at the red line. He was on his side, we were on ours.
Yeah.
And I went over to him, and I mean, we just talked about what's going on, and Theo was just surprised to see me. He's like, Craner, good to see you out here, man. Like, because Theo has even seen how far I've come, right? So, I mean, to even see that I'm out there playing with Ty and in senior was pretty humbling fact for me anyway. But even during the game, when it came to game time, Mr. Pax was all seriousness. And even to the point where, like, he was being rough, he was pushing our players. He leveled one of our guys at the blue line, like rocked one of our guys. And funny enough, I went in for a hit on him. And, I mean, Theo's like 240 pounds. So he's in the corner, and I go to hit him, and I just bounce off like it's like hitting a pillow. But and he gives me a look. He's like, nice try, Craner, and skates away. So
I think it was Pellet that hit him in Saugeen Shores and put him down. Like, and I think it was Cole, but whoever it was had clipped him a little high.
Yeah, it was
like when he went down. He went down hard, and he come back looking for it the rest of the game.
Probably.
Like his physicality level went to a whole new level for any game.
He's just a very centered player. Like, I mean, you can see that all throughout the league. Like, teams have guys like Chad Schwartzengruber, or you're looking at guys like are on, Clinton. You got Steven Sansa, who we also met through 3HL, who are just a phenomenal hockey player and just
unbelievable speed.
I mean, yeah, you see these guys that are just like, just turn it on at the drop of a hat playing against.
The only guy I can say really in the whole league that I absolutely don't like getting tied up with in a corner is Theo Peckham, because he just manhandle you.
Yeah, right. He's so strong, and his foot speed, like his acceleration, like I came and watched Ty play against Alora on one of my off days, and just like Sansa right off the drop was just gone. It was just like a bullet. Puck just got dropped. They dumped the puck in, and just he was on it in like no time. Like he just his foot speed
up, and he picked up the puck. He's gone on a breakaway. Yeah, every time.
He's gone. So I mean the variety of skill level in this league is great, because then you have teams like even our team wasn't the strongest. We did put up a good fight in Lucknow, and we did have a strong team there. But I mean every team's definitely gotten better. Even our standings don't really reflect how good of a team we were, and I mean that you can see that throughout the league. Like even Shallow Lake had a really good team too.
Absolutely, they did.
Rumor has it Pex is going to Shallow next year.
Really?
Yes.
I cannot confirm.
Like I said, rumor though. That's just a rumor.
I can't confirm or deny that I've also heard that rumor.
Oh wow! I mean, Shallow's going to be a competitor next year. That's for sure. Then.
Yeah. I got an inside source.
Is that okay? Like there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether this league is going to happen next year. Anyways, I mean, I just happened to. I know for a fact. I just have read earlier today that Fred Wallace from Bayshore Broadcasting on CFOS 560 did an interview with Gord Lamont, the president of Saugeen Shores Winterhawks.
Yeah.
And as far as Gord states, is that the league is preparing to start in October as they would normally every year. So that's a good sign. But there's no question it's going to look different than it's normally looked in years past. There's no question about that. But
I had the same kind of conversation with Chris, like the general manager of Lucknow. He had stated that there was talk of doing like a late start or having just an all North division kind of team layout and stuff. But he's pretty sure the league's going to pick up at some point again this year. And even if they have to just like kind of cram everything into every weekend, play a Friday, Saturday, Sundays.
Right. I know that the league still kind of had like the division lines where a lot of times, teams wouldn't go to play far away a lot. Right. I mean, I don't think Lucknow, we played Shallow a lot. Like I think we'd only go up to Shallow once a year. So, I mean, in terms of like them scheduling the games in a way that made it easier for players to attend the game and make it fair is good. As for how they're going to do it moving forward with the new social distancing rules and what they're going to do, it's definitely going to be a different look for sure.
Yeah, no, that'll be really interesting. Now, you guys have been in this league, like I say, for a while now, and you've seen how the league has grown. Last year was probably one of the most competitively balanced years I've ever seen in the WOAA. Can you guys speak to that a little bit and what you noticed out there?
Well, from my point of view, being in the league a little longer than Matt, when I first started, you could tell there was the teams that really stood out above all others, really, and then there's the others that just they were drowning every year. Having this year the way the rules and everything went, it looked fairly even. Like Clinton wasn't a standout team, kind of went more Ripley's way, in all honesty, in my opinion.
Right.
But even then, like it was still an all-around balanced year for everybody. Some teams just couldn't find the groove to put the puck in the net and get some wins underneath them, such as us and Shallow Lake.
Right.
Great rosters, really. They had good rosters. They just had trouble putting the puck in the net.
Or keeping the puck out.
Yeah,
that too.
Goals for, goals against. But I mean, in terms of what I found over the past few seasons that I've been in the league, I mean, the biggest change that I've noticed is with the rule change. With changing the rules this past season to allow for players to play not based upon where they are located, but what level they played, has completely changed the layout for how competitive the teams are, right? Especially for like Clinton. Clinton still has a lot of their high level players that were on that team, but you take guys like, Blight Royal, who was on Clinton originally, and when they needed to bring in a couple guys that had already played level 4, as they deemed it, I mean, they had to get rid of Blight Royal, and he ended up going to Seaford.
And he played really well over there.
Yeah, and he did really phenomenally well in Seaforth. But I mean, he had experience, and by changing that level of skill level and trying to broaden it out across all the different teams, it's definitely changed the competitiveness and the edge that teams are now bringing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I say, this league is just so interesting in that, from top to bottom, in terms of how much work goes into it, local support, local business sponsorship, that sort of thing. Like it's just amazing the hard work and dedication that goes into each and every team.
Well, and like Jake Prudeman said there the other night, like you get teams like Troya that are traveling the distance to play teams, and yeah, they're short benched, but then you also got to look at the flip side of it, where there's teams like us and Shallow Lake and stuff where they're at a distance from other teams as well. So on a Friday night when Petrolia's got a home game, guys are coming off work, having to drive all the way down to Petrolia. They're not really looking forward to being there, although they're excited to play. They're exhausted.
Right.
And you look at the same token, Petrolia, when they play out on a Friday night, they're in the same boat. Right. So really, you can't say, well, one team's better rested than the other when it could go either way on any given time. Because as he also stated when he talked to you, they had come into Clinton and beat us at home.
Yeah.
And actually, they were short bench that night. They did beat us with a short bench.
Right.
So anything can happen, really. Any given night, anything can happen. Doesn't matter if it's A or AA1 versus single A6. Like anything could happen.
Well, even I don't know if you were there, Tyler, but even in Lucknow, we ended up beating Durham. Like we had a game this year where we played.
Yeah,
Durham
at the end of the season.
Yeah,
that was
the season, and we beat Durham, right? And I mean, Durham was one of, I think, 4th or 5th in the standings, and yeah. I mean,
you guys did Minto a huge solid by not allowing them to play Ripley in the first round.
Yeah, that we helped them out a little bit there, but yeah, Minto. I mean, I know that they folded a few years ago. Like this is like I think their second year back now.
Yeah, and it was just
their second season, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, having their commitment from their players and guys that are on their team, it's just, I mean, they were a competitive team this year, right? And I mean, I'm friends with Austin Gabbery, who's on the team, and a few other guys, Caleb Winslow on their defensive end, who this was his first season.
He was really good.
And I mean, a phenomenal team. I mean, the guys they put up a lot of good skill even when we played them in our makeup games. Like our first makeup game was a little closer, but our second one we just got demolished. But
I remember that was even tough for me to be a part of.
Yeah, it was rough. It was a rough game.
I think I was suspended for that game there still.
Sure.
You were indeed, Tyler. Yeah, it's
yeah. I had a couple games there at the end of the season. I'm still if I make her back in this year, I've talked to, like I said, Chris, the GM of Lucknow. I've been in talks with him. I'm hoping and looking forward to coming back this year to Lucknow, but I still have
one game to serve.
Yeah.
Is it 1 or 2?
1.
Yeah,
I get suspended. I get suspended in game 3.
For 2 games?
Sorry. I got suspended in, I believe it's game 2, and then I got 3 games, so I got suspended for games 3 and 4, and then we got beat.
Carry over, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so going into next season, if and when it does take place, like, is the future's got to be good, and the feeling's got to be good that Lucknow will improve. What do you guys see as the end result? Like, do you guys see AA playoffs? Do you see maybe 9th, 10th? Like, I mean, I don't say shoot for 9th or 10th, but do you feel like the ceiling is limitless at this point?
I think I know that I was there a little bit longer than Tyler, and I kind of came in, a little bit halfway through the season after they kind of had their initial tryouts and skates and things like that. And from what I was gauging from just the guys in the room and the level that was there, I mean, the team, there was no doubt that we wanted to win, that we put in the work, and that we were trying to win as much as we could. But I found during my time there that we were lacking in some commitment areas where guys didn't want to come to practice or they didn't really come prepared for games and things like that. And I feel that the team definitely has an opportunity to win moving forward. It's just trying to build that competitive edge and get the team to compete more. And that's starting all the way from the top down. right? I mean, Chris has done an amazing job coming in this year from what I've found from the previous years. So, and from what I've heard from Tyler, talking to Chris too, that moving forward, they're going to be changing a lot.
Good.
As for their standings, where they're gonna sit, it's hard to say. It'll all depend on who kind of shows up and who is willing to be committed and put in the work to get better. But I think that there is an opportunity to succeed in Lucknow for sure.
That's great.
Yeah, and I second that. I mean, it really comes down to commitment and the guys that are there and how hard they want to compete in a night. Like when you're playing Clinton and Ripley and guys are coming in, they're expecting to get spanked. And yeah, when you got a team that's not got all those high caliber players, it's more likely to happen. But that doesn't mean you come into a game expecting to just get pounded on.
No.
You got to give your all every game and every shift. And I'm not saying the guys don't, but there are teams where the guys just come in, they go through the motions, and those are the guys 9 out of 10 times that are bound to find themselves getting hurt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think we've covered a lot in this episode, particularly the podcast. It's gone a lot longer than most of them seem to go. Do you guys have, I guess, anything else that you want to add in before we wrap things up here?
Well, first, I want to also give a plug out to Mitch Scott with Starting Lineup for sponsoring the podcast. I mean, he's a good buddy of Tyler and ours, and he's done a solid job making us jerseys and things like that. So, I mean, huge shout out to him. And I mean, hopefully we can help build this podcast and bring in some more sponsors and more players that are willing to share their experience and stuff that they've gone throughout the league. Because I know for myself, like it's been an uphill battle to play, being on different teams, and you know, I have a bunch of different stories and things that I've gone through, and I know that there's other players out there that have done the same. So, I mean, definitely it's good to see that this podcast is doing really well, and we're hoping that it can continue to grow and we can build and bring more guys in and on board to make it work.
Excellent. Well said.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like Mitch and his Starting Lineup apparel and everything. Like I've had a few different sets of jerseys and stuff made from him. They're phenomenal. He's not just a guy that's like out throwing a name and a label places. Like his work is outstanding. Like,
yeah,
amazing. But and the same thing, like for this podcast, having him step up and put his name out here with you and kind of help you out, and you know, maybe we can bring in some more stuff and players, sponsors, everything. Like it's a senior world here. We're all in it together, really. So
that's right. Yeah, like I say, at the end of the day, it's all about giving you guys the recognition you deserve. That's what I've always been about since I first started following this league. I recognize it for how amazing this league is and how underappreciated it is. And I feel like the word just needs to get more widespread, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So my sincerest thank you to you two for coming on, Matt Crane and Tyler Ryan of the Lucknow Lancers, for joining us. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to have to let you go, but you're welcome back anytime. So thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
So once again, I want to give my thanks to Tyler Ryan and Matt Crane for coming on the podcast today and being a part of it with us. It was great to have them on, and I hope to have them on again down the line. In terms of our next up on the podcast, this upcoming Friday, we got a real treat for you. It's our all-goalie featurette. That's right, it's featurette. I don't know if that's right for it, but either way, I'm going to go with it anyways. Our feature is the on goalies, premier goalies of the league, and we got 3 beauties for you on Friday. Greg Dodds of the Clinton Radars, Tommy Lee of the Tillsonburg Thunder, and Jeff Flagler of the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks. This is a podcast you're not going to want to miss. Believe me when I say that. It's going to be outstanding. So looking forward to that. Want to thank again our guests Tyler Ryan and Matt Crane, Mitch Scott of Starting Lineup, Uniform and Apparel, and you the viewer for watching along. I am Andrew Rogers, the host, and this has been another episode of the WOA Senior AA Men's Hockey League Podcast. Take care.